The scary part wasn't the bad grades, it was how normal they started feeling. You used to care so much. That's the part nobody around you really understands now. There was a time where one bad grade could ruin your whole evening. You check the portal before even getting out of bed. Replay mistakes in your head while trying to sleep. Sit there staring at a percentage like it decided what kind of person you were. And honestly, for a while it kinda did. Being good at school became your thing. The smart one, the dependable one, the kid adults never had to worry about. You got so used to hearing things like you've got a bright future that eventually you stopped asking whether any of it actually felt like yours. You just kept going. Then one day something started feeling off. Not dramatic. You just stared at assignments longer before opening them. Deadlines stopped feeling urgent. Your mind drifted somewhere else during class. You tell yourself you were going to work on something, then suddenly an hour disappeared. At first you probably thought, what's wrong with me? Because the old version of you would have never acted like this. But here's the strange part. You still know how to work hard. You'll spend hours on things you actually care about, learning something random at midnight, or working on a project nobody even asked you to build, thinking about the future while everybody else seems half asleep. Then homework sits there untouched for 3 days, which doesn't really line up with laziness. At some point, the future attached to school stopped feeling like yours, and once that feeling settles in, forcing yourself starts feeling fake. Some people deal with that by separating grades from identity. The assignment becomes something to finish, not proof they're smart enough or failing at life. A bad score stops deciding what kind of day they're allowed to have. Other people keep school in its place. They finish what actually matters, then put real energy into something outside the classroom that still makes them feel connected to themselves. A skill, creative work, their health, something that reminds them they still care about their future somewhere. That shift changes people quietly. You didn't suddenly become lazy, you just stopped seeing yourself inside the future everybody handed you. That's why the guilt feels weird now. Part of you still remembers the old version of yourself. The kid who panicked over a 79, who felt sick after forgetting homework, who thought one bad semester meant life was collapsing. Now you look at missing work and barely react, and honestly, that can scare you a little. When something shaped your identity for years, like it feels strange watching yourself stop reacting to it, like you're meeting a version of yourself you haven't fully figured out yet. You feel it every time you sit in class thinking about literally anything else. Money, freedom, building something of your own, a different life entirely. Meanwhile, the lecture keeps going in the background, and for the first time, the whole thing starts feeling mechanical. Bell rings, everybody moves, next task, next test, next instruction. You start noticing how many people wait for permission before they move. And once you notice that, it's hard to stop seeing it everywhere. Some people respond to that realization by learning how to guide themselves early, not perfectly, just enough to trust themselves again, waking up before they have to, keeping small promises to themselves, working on meaningful things before distractions take over the day. Other people reconnect with learning differently, not because somebody grades them, because they actually care now. They start reading things that matter to them personally, building skills tied to a future they can actually picture in their head. Learning stops feeling forced for the first time. That difference changes people slowly. Some people aren't exhausted from working hard, they're exhausted from pretending they still care. At first it feels like freedom, no emotional attachment, no panic over grades, no obsession with proving yourself. Then suddenly whole days disappear without anything real getting done. Sleep schedule falls apart, attention span gets weaker. You sit down to do something important, then end up scrolling for an hour without even meaning to. Not because you're hopeless. A lot of people just never learned how to direct themselves once nobody was forcing movement anymore. School gave people structure automatically. Without it, some people freeze. That realization humbles you quickly. Some people respond by building smaller routines they can actually keep. Nothing extreme. Planning tomorrow before sleeping. Keeping their phone away while working. Doing difficult things earlier so dread doesn't sit in the background all day. Other people rebuild trust in themselves slowly. Cleaning their space before escaping into entertainment. Going outside instead of staying stuck in their room, keeping one habit consistent long enough to remind themselves they can still rely on who they're becoming, not self-improvement fantasy, just stability. And honestly, stability feels better than motivation after a while. Because this was never only about school, it's about what happens when nobody's there to force movement anymore. Can you still move forward without immediate rewards? Can you stay focused when nobody's watching? Can you build something slowly without constant reassurance that it's working? Some people leave structure behind, then realize it was the only thing keeping them moving. There's a difference between wanting freedom and knowing what to do with it once you have it. Some people miss school after graduating for one reason: it was the last time their life had automatic direction, and maybe that's why this stage feels so confusing. Like, you're not fully inside the old version of yourself anymore, but you're not fully grounded in the next version either. So some days you feel focused for hours. Other days you can barely make yourself start anything. Part of you wants freedom, another part misses certainty, and underneath all of it is this quiet pressure you don't really say out loud. If I don't want the normal path, then I actually have to build something real. That thought changes people, because now there's nobody to blame anymore. Not teachers, not school, not the system, just your own habits, your own attention, your own follow-through. Some people answer that pressure by making their goals smaller and more real, less talking about the future, more finishing things consistently, more action before confidence. Other people stop waiting to feel motivated before they begin. They move first, even if the effort feels imperfect, even if they still feel uncertain. Because after a while you realize confidence usually shows up after movement, not before it. And honestly, that's probably when this whole thing becomes real. Not when you stop caring about school, when you realize nobody's coming to build your life for you afterward. That's where people quietly split apart. One person keeps talking about the life they want, while their habits slowly move in the opposite direction. The other starts building structure nobody forced them to build. Same frustration, different direction. And over time, those small private decisions become identity. Eventually you realize the real problem was never school. It was how easy it became to lose direction the second nobody else was choosing it for you.